Alright everyone, quiet on the set. Places, we've got a show to make here. Is Chris ready? Yes. Okay everyone, in 3, 2, 1, and... Coming to you live from sunny Orlando, Florida, it's the Great Movie Radio Show, a movie talk podcast, starring Chris Schneider.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Great Movie Radio Show. This is Chris Schneider, and if you've listened to our first episode, you will know my guest very well, or at least from his taste of movies. But we're going to welcome back Mr. Joe Erickson.
Yo, what's up, people?
So Joe, we had a good time going around the track last episode, and definitely went a lot longer than the ride used to go.
Yeah, well, inaugural track needs its first ride to be full of attention, so...
I don't disagree with you. So I'm glad to hear that, there's a lot of detail going into your version of the GMR.
Right.
Today we're actually going to talk about some other topics. I asked some questions to you recently that, I just want to talk about, and they include your favorite scores and composers, directors, maybe some movies you haven't seen, and then an odd question that... I look at it as, everyone's got their favorites, but also people have ones that stick out. Not like a sore thumb, but they stick out. There's like a moment in them that this moment it may not be your favorite.
Right.
But it's one that it goes along with you. Something that inspires you. So that the question was 5 films that inspire beyond your favorite.
Right.
And so we're going to touch base with those. We're going to start with scores and composers. Because I am a soundtrack junkie. Like, if I had a drug of choice, it would be movie scores.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, hey, music is a healer.
Yeah, it's also a drug.
Yeah.
And that would go along with what you were going perfectly
exactly. With. So you sounded like you disagreed with me, and then you came right back and agreed with me.
No. I totally 100% agree. Like I said before in the first episode, I grade a lot of the movies that I like based on their soundtrack.
Well, that's... Yeah, you and I definitely have that in common, and especially with the list you have here. I mean, a couple of them, they're not, they don't touch my favorites. Your first one and your second one definitely hit. And even your third one, just because of who did it. It's a mixture of scores and composers, so it's 5. And the first one is, of course, John Williams. And John Williams, essential.
Yeah.
Like, Star Wars just has everybody.
Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
Harry Potter,
and
he's been everywhere.
Yeah,
and I love.
He did a lot of Steven Spielberg's work too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of him because of Star Wars and the fact that he's very thematic.
Yeah.
Very thematic. I actually went to a John Williams tribute concert recently, and they played a little bit of everything. Superman, E.T., and what was great is he has inspired other composers. And what's great is that we're starting to see other composers into the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And Michael Giacchino, who's done a lot of stuff for J.J. Abrams.
Right.
He also did The Incredibles, and also he did Rogue One.
Yes.
And what was great is if you listen to the Rogue One score with Giacchino, you hear a lot of John Williams in that score.
Yeah.
And he's a wonderful composer to study the thematic elements in his pieces.
Well, and a lot of things with composers is they take a lot of elements and they take a lot of inspirations of composers before them, obviously.
Of course.
But the real question is who inspired John Williams to compose the way that he does? I don't have the answer to that.
I was going to say, are you going to... I don't know either.
I
do
wish
too.
I had the answer to that.
That's a question for John Williams. John, if you're listening, please get with us. We would like to know.
Yeah.
But he is a genius.
He's a musical legend.
He is. I know a lot of people like Rise of Skywalker, and a lot of people don't.
Right.
But if one thing stands out to me is... And he said he was doing this before the movie even came out. So I was listening for it. He took pieces from the other 8 Star Wars movies and made sure, the ones that he's done, of course, the Skywalker saga or whatever, he made sure that they were present, including new thematic elements from 9.
Which is great.
So we've got a little bit of everything in this one finale piece. But he is fantastic, and I will never not love John Williams. And even sitting at a concert that he's not there, but you're hearing these other musicians and the composer and the conductor playing, what they've come to love from him. The best of John Williams.
Right.
Raiders and oh my God, it was incredible. And you see the love. you see the love in other musicians playing his works because they, when they're learning their instruments, they're learning John Williams, and to get to play his work has to be an honor. And you see the emotion through the music, and just like John Williams puts out there in his work, it's very emotional. What would be your favorite of his?
I mean, the Indiana Jones series was phenomenal for me, at least. I like the adventurous sport of the movies themselves, and I feel the music that he provided behind them added a little more depth to the character that is Indiana Jones. Not just as far as like where his settings are, or what he was fighting, or what he was going after. I mean, obviously it did all that, but it really showed who the character was, especially in The Last Crusade, when where the opening cinematic is him as a teenager. Then he recovers the cross and has to hand it back over to the bad guy, and then he instantly becomes an adult on the ship looking for that cross again.
He wasn't human before.
But
now
before.
he is.
But he became an adult on that ship, and the music changed. You could tell he had been hardened through time. You could tell that he had been through a lot. Experienced a lot of adventure and danger. And I think that's what I really take back from John Williams' music.
That's wonderful. Well, Mr. Williams, we appreciate everything you've done with your works, and we thank you for Star Wars, because Rise of Skywalker was his last one. I hope it's not his last film. Please do more. We love you. Your number 2 is the Tron Legacy soundtrack, which
I picked that because I like Daft Punk. They make great music, and to see them go into the film realm was somewhat of a new experience for anyone, really.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor didn't really do anything until a few years after that. Or, well, actually, not until, 2 years ago? Last year?
It's been a while since because they got started with Social Network.
Yeah.
But he was doing instrumental work with 9 Inch Nails before all that.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. You don't see a lot of bands or musical artists become composers for film. As big as a name that I can think of off the top of my head, I can't think of
Your
it.
number 5 is one. Danny Elfman came from Oingo Boingo.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know
No,
that?
I didn't know that.
Go and listen to this song called Insanity. It sounds like that song inspired the entire Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack, in my opinion. Yeah, huge 80s band. They were it felt like a carnival on stage.
I know what Oingo Boingo is.
Yeah, but you didn't know
know
that.
I didn't know that he was in a band.
Oh, man.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't hear about things like that.
Yeah.
You don't hear that get made public a lot. Oh yeah, Danny Elfman was in Oingo Boingo, and that's general conversation. I'm talking more along the lines of you have a movie like Tron, which was a cult classic.
Oh yeah,
back when it came out.
And Wendy Carlos did the original. Who she did? She really pioneered synthwave.
Yeah.
For film, because she did The Shining, Clockwork Orange,
right?
Kubrick film.
Well, and the fact that you had Tron, which was a cult classic.
Exactly.
And then you had Tron Legacy, which had to go along with the cybernetic feel to what the movie is. I was going to say, what other person or persons can you put that with besides Daft Punk, who have created albums based off of their own works of anime? Their whole one of their whole albums is based off an anime that they wrote.
I haven't seen that.
I think it's a 45-minute film, but it's based off of the music that they wrote for that album.
Which is funny because you and I talk about the soundtrack often. You're more of the Daft Punk fan, and I'm more of the Tron fan.
Right.
And so I got into them a little bit more because of Tron Legacy, and you got into Tron, I think, a little bit more from Daft Punk.
Yeah.
And so you and I see it from both sides and come together and just love it equally.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, they had to come in. Carlos did this, of course, in the original Tron in '82. I wasn't even around yet. I saw it later when my dad showed it to me, and I was like, "What is this, man?"
Yeah.
And I was 4 or 5 when I saw Tron the first time. It's interesting because when you're in the real world in Tron, you get that, the simple sounds of, being in the real world.
Yeah,
just to say for the lack of a better description. But then you go into the grid.
Yeah.
And you're in the computer. You're in a system.
Right.
How does this resonate being in a system?
What does technology sound like?
What is the grid, and the fun part of the movie is they're making programs people.
Yeah.
And they're making them more personal. So you get that feel in the grid, but you're having the techno and the electronic music that Daft Punk brings, and of course Wendy Carlos was doing the synthwave back in the day. So it was very key that building a sequel 20-ish years later.
Yeah, it was almost 30 years.
Yeah, that even if you're changing the way things sound, I don't think they match any themes that Carlos did in the original. Maybe one little smidge, but they didn't do much. But it was essential that they keep the same fundamentals, which is, making it sound digital in the digital world and not necessarily out of. And they nailed it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. When technology changes and advances, so does sound. So you would think that the grid, in theory, would upgrade and update itself to make sound more pleasurable to the person of today. So Carlos might have thought of something that great back then that's the way the technology sounds.
Well, yeah, it was ahead of its time.
It was definitely ahead of its time. That's why I liked it.
And I was a huge fan of the immersion.
Yeah.
You felt like you were in the grid with them because of the music and how when the games are playing and that arena music. Of course, they have the cameo at the club.
Yes.
And Daft Punk's in there, the DJ. He gets a little cameo like, we're rocking the joint for you. And then the fight happens and they're like, oh, we got some new music for the fight.
That's right.
And they just did such a great job. And yeah, it's really fun to see because I remember the same guy who directed Tron Legacy did this really underrated sci-fi movie called Oblivion, which my wife absolutely hates. I love it.
It's alright.
Yeah, and not everyone loves it. Yeah. I love it more because of the music. And why? Because M83 did the music. And M83 is another one of those Daft Punk type bands, and it's one guy. He came in with the person who helped Daft Punk do the Legacy score, Joseph Trapanese, I think his name is, and he helped Gonzalez of M83 score and write and compose for Oblivion.
Right.
And another one of those, you don't see rock bands or rock musicians doing soundtracks.
That's what I mean. It's a big deal, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, oh,
it makes it more of an event, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the film's important, because here's Tom Cruise with his crooked, pretty teeth, and that one weird middle tooth.
Yep.
And clones of him. If you haven't seen the movie, I just ruined it for you. Sorry. And then you have M83, who is up and coming at the time.
Yeah.
And together, this is supposed to be some science fiction event that Universal put out. And like I said, I know a lot of people don't probably like Oblivion as much as I do. I love it more because of the sound and the visual you get with the music playing. Like the sights that were in the film and and the music behind those sights. Not necessarily Tom Cruise and the action and everything happening, but more of the visuals and the narrative that the music laid out for those sites.
Right.
Yeah. With that said, your number 3 is one of my favorite composers, but great film. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Gore Verbinski?
Gore Verbinski did the directing.
Oh, you're right. That was
it's Hans Zimmer who did the soundtrack. Right. And Zimmer he is up there for me.
Yeah.
I love Hans Zimmer. And not just because he did the womp for Inception. He's, oh my God, Interstellar, Gladiator. You could name so many.
Days of Thunder.
I want to go down the list.
He did a couple of Tom Cruise movies. I want to say he did Rain Man.
More favorable recently, Dunkirk, of course, but it's Blade Runner 2049 when Denis Villeneuve couldn't get anyone to get that Vangelis feel. He tried Johan Johansson before he passed, and it didn't work out. So Zimmer came in with a protege of his, Benjamin Wallfish, and they did Blade Runner 2049. And oddly enough, he did Dark Phoenix, which was a trash movie, but the score was okay.
I still haven't seen it yet.
The only reason that movie was even watchable for me was because of Zimmer's score.
My list is not in order as far as like
you just
favorites.
Listed them. Yeah,
I just listed them off.
What about Zimmer's work on Pirates of the Caribbean? Why does that one?
It's gonna sound weird, but it had a whimsical feel to it. Because when you think of a pirate, you think of dirty old man, and you think of pillaging and
drunken
destroying
Johnny Depp all over the place.
Yeah, but he made it, and Hans Zimmer made pirates in a way that it made it cool. Yeah. It made it cool again to be a pirate. So I feel like because of that, it added a little story element of surprise and whimsy and wholeheartedness to keep an adventure going.
Took the pirate epic that they were building with the film and
broadened it out.
Just elevated it that much more. No, I agree 100% there.
Give it, dare I say, full sail? I'm terrible.
You are. Yeah. Okay. Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see this. Now, I've been a fan of the recent ones. I mean, I have the entire set. Of course, I've seen some of the show from back in the day. I mean, this one's had a strew of composers all over these films. And, of course, different directors. But one man's been at the heart of it this entire time is Tom Cruise. And so is there a particular Mission Impossible that's your...
No. I would say that the first first Mission Impossible movie I saw was Mission Impossible 3.
That was the first one?
That was the first one I saw.
You've seen them all, though.
I've seen them all. It's a good spy thriller without being over the top and kind of dorky. Like the old James Bond films, you know what I mean?
Some of them definitely were dorky.
I mean, James Bond, great character, great storylines and everything like that, but they were kind of dorky, and the music kind of reflected in those movies. And what good is a dirty reflection of a great movie if you can't show it off? So Mission Impossible had a great soundtrack to really reflect what a spy thriller needs to be. Where there's intrigue, where there's mystery, where there's double crossing, double agents, and fake bombs, and real bombs, and jumping out of planes, and everything
looking like the same person with a mask on.
Yeah.
Well, which is funny is Elfman, your number 5, actually composed the first one.
Yeah.
And then someone we've already talked about, Michael Giacchino, he did the 4th one, which was Ghost Protocol, when Brad Bird stepped off the animation train.
Which is my favorite one.
What's
Ghost Protocol,
Ghost
I
Protocol?
think, is my favorite one.
It's got to be my... It might have been my favorite before this last one, because Fallout was incredible. Yeah. But no, I would have to say Ghost Protocol. It felt very... Yeah, it needed... Because it was at the time when Mission Impossible was... I wouldn't say getting old, but it needed a
facelift.
It needed a new kickstart. I won't call it a reboot. I won't call it a refresh. Mm-hmm. It just needed a jump.
Yeah.
And Brad Bird really brought in, with Giacchino, they gave it the jump it needed.
Yeah.
And man, that was a great... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so with that being said, Danny Elfman, of course, he did the first one. Yeah, I didn't know that you weren't aware he was a Oingo Boingo.
No, it's not general knowledge.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Wonderful, wonderful band, and of course, that's part of why he did the singing voice for Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Which makes more sense to me now.
Exactly. I highly recommend listening to Insanity. That song it's like 7 minutes long and just a Halloween party in 7 minutes. It's wonderful. But Elfman, no, he is... God, what hasn't he done?
I don't know.
He is... Right? Batman.
I mean, if
pretty much with Avengers.
Pretty much, if you could put any Tim Burton film out there, you're going to find Danny Elfman, if not on the tail or inside it.
Exactly.
Which is totally okay with me, because he has musical prowess to be nominated for some kind of award or some kind of Hall of Fame for sure. He's a great composer. He's a wonderful musician, and all in all, he touches a lot of gold.
Yeah.
To me,
he's got to have a touch of gold, or else he wouldn't have the longevity that he has, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot. I know more of his scores than I probably do John Williams, because John Williams, you have series, a lot of large series, like Star Wars, there's so many of them. Harry Potter, there's so many of them.
Right.
Superman, so many of them. Elfman, there's... Oh, God, I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I
Mars Attacks, Nightmare Before Christmas, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie. What else? You said Avengers.
Yeah, you did Age of Ultron.
Edward Scissorhands.
Big
and
Fish.
That's another thing. Pretty much any kind of Johnny Depp movie, he's probably close behind in that too.
Somewhere, yeah. He's done a lot. I wasn't going to list them all, but you started going, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, you're going to?
Well, I'm going to list... Those are just the ones that I know
off
for sure.
Off the top of your head, yeah. No, but they're... Oh, man, I could go down the list.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you, listening to the great movie radio show starring Chris Schneider. I don't want anybody to get hurt, so don't go moving around until this Movie Talk podcast comes back. Capiche?
Warning. Remain on this podcast. The advertisement you are experiencing is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution.
Hey, Chris here. Wanting to talk to you about the Tower Arcade and Lounge, located at the Citrus Tower in Claremont, Florida. The Tower Arcade and Lounge is a newly opened retro arcade and bar. For a small cover, visitors can enjoy unlimited free play on more than 30 games, such as Centipede, Area 51, Donkey Kong, and favorite of mine, Pac-Man. They have many other classic arcade games as well. Mechanical games such as pinball, hoops, crane and skill prize games are on old school quarters. They have a great selection of beer and wine, wine-based liquors, and sodas. Snacks are available at a reduced price because of the cover charge. Every Thursday night is hospitality night with a 10% off discount with employee ID. Visit the Tower Arcade and Lounge on Facebook or their website, www.towerarcade.com. or find them on Instagram with hashtag TowerArcadeCT. The Tower Arcade and Lounge. Tell them Chris from the GMR show sent you. So we are looking at opportunities for networking and cross-promoting our podcast with maybe some local businesses or an online business that would like an opportunity to get their product out there. If you feel like you would like to take advantage of this unique opportunity, shoot us an email at thegmrshow@gmail.com. We're looking at businesses to advertise maybe 30 to 45 seconds worth and be featured here on the show and on our website as well. Again, if you're interested, you can email us at thegmrshow@gmail.com, and we'll make sure our people contacts your people.
The heat's on, see? Which means it's time for Chris Schneider, host of the Great Movie Radio Show, to get back to work. I gotta lay low myself. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode of this Movie Talk podcast. Do it, or else, if you know what I mean.
Let's talk about 5 films that have inspired you beyond your favorites, and I've only seen 3 of these. They would be, of course, Patch Adams, It's a Wonderful Life, and V for Vendetta. Your other 2 are Friday Night Lights and Drunken Master.
Yes.
Oh, God, I remember seeing V for Vendetta in the theater, and Patch Adams, of course, the wonderful Robin Williams. And It's a Wonderful Life. My theater company actually plays it every year at Christmas time. Friday Night Lights, I never got a chance to watch, and Drunken Master, pretty much haven't seen it. These are movies that aren't necessarily favorites, but they're just movies that something in them resonated with you enough to have them still have a special place in your heart.
Right.
I am, I guess, inquiring as to why. Yeah, so Drunken Master, what about that inspired you?
I have always been a huge fan of Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan. I will watch any movie of Jackie Chan that is given to me because I think he's great. I also love the fact that a lot of his films have to do with the inner working of oneself to defeat an obstacle or to procure some kind of enjoyment in life for the rest of their life. Especially considering that Drunken Master came out, I want to say, in either the late 60s or the early 70s. And the sequel for that wasn't made until 2000?
Wow.
It was
78, by the way.
78. Okay. So it was really early in his career in American cinema. He had been trying to get out of Chinese cinema, and with Drunken Master, he was able to make that breakthrough. The whole story revolves around a boy in a dojo trying to get vengeance for his family because his father was beaten to a bloody pulp by some kind of karate master that had a different style than what he was taught. And the only way for him to really get after this person is to learn something new himself. So he had to put himself through a rigorous training that he never expected was a possible thing. He had to make sure that he would train and not slack off. And of course, because the movie is called Drunken Master, he had to use his body in the way of a drunk person without becoming drunk. So although the style of Kung Fu itself would be deemed as unacceptable or intolerable, it made him grow as a person to really hone his own skills and to fight for himself rather than for other people.
And I've seen quite a few Jackie Chan movies. It definitely sounds like one I need to watch.
It's great. It's fun. It's hokey.
Those are the best kind. Patch Adams, though, I have seen, and that absolutely broke my heart. I'm still sad about Robin Williams not being here. I just watched Good Will Hunting recently. His performance in that movie is astounding, and part of me just wishes that when he was in the place he was, I suppose you could say, that not take a little bit of his feedback to kind of help his woe and his worry, but to kind of help himself, because, not everyone knew,
right?
Which was sad, is that not all, it came out of nowhere for some of us, as far as fans and stuff. I'm sure people close to him might have had a little hint from all the wonderful fans that have enjoyed his movies and his comedy specials and everything he's done, voice work in Aladdin. And, I'm sorry, I'm still heartbroken by him because he was one of my favorites growing up. Patch Adams was just one of those films that when I saw it on your list, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna go on for a while. Because anything Robin Williams, I could go on for. I'll try to keep it short my end. So, what about Patch Adams stuck out to you? Like, what happened that made it personal, I suppose?
Patch Adams was a story of breaking the mold. going against what's known as the rule book of society and going your own way, which I can appreciate. I'm not saying that I'm the reincarnate version of Robin Williams' character Patch Adams. No way am I that. But at the same time, I try to hold myself at a standard of figuring out things the way that I see fit. I've tried to. I know that I've had to tone myself down a lot for people over the years to kind of keep them interested or keep them entertained by who I am.
You're an entertainer.
And that's the thing. You have to kind of bring yourself to the realization that if you want to keep people around you, you have to be real with them. You have to do what you do so they can understand why you are the way you are.
I understand that.
I'm just thankful that I found people in my life that truly understand that and that have stuck by my side for so long and continue to stay by my side.
I'm glad we're friends too, Joe.
Yeah.
There's going to be some tears here soon, so we got to just over friendship and Robin Williams. Anyways, so we'll move on to A Wonderful Life. Mm-hmm. It's a Wonderful Life. You got to say the title right or else you're fired. Oh, man, off my own show. All right, have a good day, everyone. No, I'm just kidding. It's a Wonderful Life. So what about it?
I am part of a big family. A family of 7. 2 parents, my older brother, me, my little brother.
7?
Yeah, there's 7 of us.
I knew a good amount, but I didn't know it was 7.
Yeah, my mom and dad, my older brother, me, my little brother, and my 2 little sisters.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Being in a big family is fun in most cases, but there are a lot of times where there's sibling rivalry and you're pitted against one another, and parents will choose their favorite, even though they say they don't. They obviously do. It's a Wonderful Life kind of showed me that even though you may have it hard in your life and everything like that, you may have a terrible job, you may have things that just aren't working up to where you want to be in life, you still always have your family to back you up. That's important to me because I know that some people don't have the luxury of having their whole family together, whether it be due to marital circumstance or due to age or due to just randomness of like a car accident or medical or anything like that.
There's just dumb disagreements.
Yeah, or just dumb disagreements. I mean, it could drive people away. And I'm not saying that I feel sorry for them, but then again, I am sorry that it has happened to them. In that sense, I feel like family, whether it be blood or not blood, your family always has your back. I know that my mom and dad and my brothers and my sisters will come to my aid if I so need to, but I also know that I have really good friends who are part of what I call my family that will also help me out if need be. I mean, I'm not saying that I have any huge major issue that needs to be solved right now, obviously, but I'm just, like I said, I'm really thankful for the families that I do have in my life.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah. And it makes sense, you know. If you go through the movie, this guy hates his life. It's so terrible for him that he just wants to end it all. He has to have that reflection period to really bring himself to know that he has his family. He has
it better than he thinks.
He has it a lot better than he thinks, and his family is number 1 on that list.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still like taking it all in.
Right.
That's a good one.
Well, and you recently got married, and you've become part of the Schneider family.
Yeah.
So you understand that. I'm guessing you understand that better than anyone, that you've become part of a bigger family now, that they have your back no matter what.
Exactly. And for people listening, yes, my last name being Schneider, I actually took my wife's last name. There were some reasons. I'm not going to get into it.
Disagreements.
It's not a place. It's not a thing here. But exactly, that there's, as long as you have something you can call a family, some person, place, or people that you can fall back on that is your family. They're a part of your life, whether
it's
it
your
be
life vest,
blood relative or not. That's exactly what I agree with you wholeheartely, and I need to go back and rewatch that movie because it has been some time. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
Like I said, my theater company plays it every year at Christmas. It's great. Christmas Eve, actually. I think it's a tradition that the company plays it on Christmas Eve. Great film. It's just been a long time since I've seen it.
Sure.
Wouldn't mind a refresh. Friday Night Lights, I have never seen. There was a TV show, there was the movie.
It was the movie that I enjoyed. It was,
and the movie came first, of course.
Yeah, the movie came first. I want to say it was 99. It showed the brash and bare tacks of teamwork. It's teamwork to the core. A lot of drama may happen outside of the team or outside of the game, but when you are a team, you have your teammates to call upon you, which is almost reflects a whole another family sense. They may not be blood related, but they do have your back. They do make sure that you are the one throwing the pass to the end zone to make sure that they catch that for a touchdown for your team. They make sure that you move forward in the game. So that way you don't have to look back and say, I should have fumbled that ball. I should have passed it when I had the chance. I should have watched that blitz. You have your team. And that's a great thing that I like to incorporate with my work, is that even though I may not agree with some of these people that I work with, I know that they're part of my team and I'm willing to help them procure a solution to what needs to happen next.
Of course, I've never seen Friday Night Lights, so I can't put anything together with it. But it's
pretty good.
I appreciate.
It's been a long time.
It's great that it's a movie that you find that the companionship and the teamwork skills that you can take to the real life from it. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. Big time. I want to take a crack shot at your fifth one here, V for Vendetta.
Uh-huh.
I think it's the point of freedom from fear.
Freedom of fear
being a way to, because she goes through the whole thing that she thinks that she's in prison and all that, and then she finds out, spoiler, that it's V the whole time.
Yeah.
It's him, of course, he's setting up his revolution of England, and as Viva la Revolution, and Guy Fawkes Day, and trying to bring everyone in this utopian English state together, that he is helping her free herself from her fear of being a part of something bigger, being typecast as someone that her parents were, which were political activists.
Yeah.
And it's such a great graphic novel too.
Yeah, I would say freedom from fear would be a good underlying reason along with my main reason for power of choice.
Ooh, there you go.
Because
that's good.
I mean, The Matrix really shows that as well. Like, he could have just ended everything right there, ignored everything. But for V for Vendetta, ultimately Natalie Portman's character has a choice to either go along with what he's saying or turn him in. She could have turned him in the whole time.
Yes.
And that's what people forget.
I like it.
A lot of people are trying to argue that it's Stockholm Syndrome, but if she has the choice, ultimately, then she really holds the power.
She does, and the whole time she's not completely held captive. He's holding her there for her safety, of course.
Right.
She could have just escaped and tell on him.
Exactly. The prison door was open more towards the end of her quote-unquote sentence of being in this prison.
Yeah.
It's the power of choice that really drives a revolution.
I like it a lot. See, I was looking at it from the other side of the spectrum, and here you are to balance it.
Yeah.
I really like that. And that's my wife's favorite movie, too, is V for Vendetta, actually. She has done the costume. I've done the costume. Way before we even knew each other. The different, you're seeing it from the different sides. You're seeing it from, they're trying to defend the political side, and then you have V showing them everything that's wrong with the country.
Right.
I love that film. I really do. So we're going to dive into directors now. You have Spielberg, Scorsese, Miyazaki, and then Tony and Ridley Scott. Mm-hmm. That's a great combination right there, those two. We miss Tony, of course. But Spielberg and Scorsese have always been huge loves of mine. Ridley Scott too, of course. Alien's my favorite horror film of all time. Not necessarily my favorite sci-fi, but my favorite sci-fi is Blade Runner.
There you go.
And so there you go. So I got a little bit of both from Ridley Scott. He doesn't make them like he used to, but he has made some classics, and I'm a huge fan. We're going to dive into Spielberg first. Do you have a favorite of his?
Just Indiana Jones. Just all the Indiana Jones series. Except for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't count that one.
I watched it recently, and it's not as bad as everyone gives it.
Yeah, no, I don't count that one.
I like it. I like it. I might be one of 3 people in the world that likes it, but I don't care. I don't like it as much. The class, oh man, 1 through 3 are amazing, and I feel that 4, deserves a little bit more love.
What I like about it is that it's corny. Like, the Indiana Jones series is a little bit corny to be real, but Spielberg does good enough to keep it interesting. I think that's why I like him as a director, is he knows how to stay interested.
I agree. Okay, the last movie that I saw that was his was Bridge of Spies. I mean, not I didn't watch it chronologically, and I haven't seen anything since. Of course, I've seen like Ready Player One and Jaws and all of these. But the last movie that I sat down and watched that was his was Bridge of Spies. Mark Rylance in that film. He deserves that Oscar. It was an incredible. Have you seen Bridge of Spies?
Nope.
Highly recommended. I'm a huge spy thriller, like you were saying, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I love spy thrillers, like the Old Man from U.N.C.L.E. series and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Cat and Mouse films. Even Captain America Winter Soldier. If you take the Marvel superhero element out of it, it's one of the best Cat and Mouse spy movies I have ever seen. Yeah. No, Bridge of Spies was fantastic.
Right.
Because you have a spy who's not a spy helping a spy get home.
Exactly.
And it's a very, very wonderful film. Scorsese. has done so many great movies. It's crazy because I'd have to say my favorite of his is one that's not even like one of his brutal R movies. Have you seen Hugo?
Hugo?
Yeah.
Is that The Boy and the Clock?
It's the one he did so his kids could watch one of his movies.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Wonderful movie. I know it's based on a book, but it's about film appreciation, or it dives into it at least.
Right.
It's not solely about it, but you find out that George Méliès, if I'm saying that name right, is in it. He was the director of so many classic films. Trip to the Moon. There's a black and white version. There's a color version. Very, very early 1900s. And it explores a little bit of that heritage of film.
Yeah.
That I think that's what probably attributed to Scorsese picking that particular novel to direct a film that his kids could watch that wasn't him killing people all the time. Because, he appreciates cinema, which everyone's, dogging that whole comment against Marvel Studios now.
Yeah.
I get it and I don't. At the same time, all of his works, man, Wolf of Wall Street, Mean Streets,
The
Taxi
Departed.
Driver, The Departed, oh my God, The Departed, The Aviator, I could go on and on about Scorsese's works. What happens to be your favorite of his?
The Departed.
The Departed.
Did he do Shutter Island?
He did Shutter Island.
Then I would probably have to change that to Shutter Island.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Yeah. Pretty great twist.
Pretty great twist. It was a little predictable, but at the same time, I loved the presentation of the twist. Because, there's a lot of movies where you have a twist that is predictable.
Right.
And then you see it, and there's
And it's still enjoyable.
You watch him, and even though it's predictable, you're still like, whoa, because of the way it's presented.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going through these quick because we're getting close to time.
Miyazaki, anything Studio Ghibli, has his
Ghibli.
name on it.
We talked about that last episode with the Ghibli films.
Howl's Moving Castle is probably my favorite one, though. Has a beautiful color, beautiful music, wonderful story, and just that feeling of longing for more.
What about Tony Scott? We'll go there.
Tony Scott, I believe, did Man on Fire, which is one of my favorite films.
Denzel.
Yeah, and me and Denzel share a birthday.
Really?
So, Denzel, if you're listening, what's up, birthday bro?
Happy recent birthday, Mr. Washington.
No
His
big
son
deal.
is becoming a great actor.
Yeah.
John David, he just did, he was in Black Klansman, and now he's doing Tenet with Christopher Nolan. God
Right.
help us all. That movie's going to blow my mind.
And then Ridley Scott also did the Alien series, which I find astounding.
Oh,
Just
my
great.
God, yeah. I would probably have to say my favorite Tony Scott film would be True Romance with Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette, which I have in a Tarantino box set because he was, I think he was one of the writers on it. Or
Gotcha.
the writer. Yeah, he was the writer. Yeah, Ridley, it would be a tie between Blade Runner and Alien for me there.
Yeah.
Wonderful list, man.
Oh, yeah.
Those are definitely up there. So all we have left is 5 films you haven't seen. I have seen 2 of these in recent memory, and one that was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. We're going to start with the ones I haven't seen so I can commiserate in the fact that I haven't seen them either, and then maybe give you an insight on the ones I have. Quigley Down Under, I haven't seen.
I also haven't seen it. I know it has one of the best cowboy scenes that I have ever heard of. Quigley is a cowboy in the Australian outback that proves himself to, I believe, Alan Rickman as the bad guy. But there's a shot that he has to shoot that's like 150 yards away, and if he can shoot the shot, then he proves himself worthy of being part of the clan. He has to make the shot, and also the wind is blowing 50 miles per hour and everything like that, and the sun's in his eyes. From that one clip that I saw, I thought that'd be a cool little Australian cowboy story.
Well, yeah, Tom Selleck is, of course, Quigley, and
Right.
Alan Rickman is in it.
Yes.
From 1990.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. It's an older one that I haven't seen, or older as in recent older, I
Yeah.
guess. And then Eraserhead, which was David Lynch's one of, if not
Dave
one of
Lynch.
his first movies.
Yeah.
It's on my watch list, but I just haven't got around
I
to
just
seeing
feel
it.
like that's going to be a movie I'm only going to be able to watch once. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple movies like that, like Requiem for a Dream. I'm not going to be able to watch that again.
That movie messed me up.
I'm not going to watch it again. It's a great movie, but I'm not going to watch it
I
again.
feel like, as someone who has never done drugs, first of all, I'm scared to do them ever, which is great because, no one needs it. Second of all, I felt like I was on it the whole time, even though I just never even touched them. Yeah. It was such a messed up movie. Great cast, great director.
But yeah, Racerhead was one of his first films,
Yeah.
and I would just want to see where he started off.
I agree. Newsies I haven't seen in a long time. But Christian Bale.
I told my wife that I hadn't seen Newsies, and she told me that we should watch Newsies. So I think sometime soon with the Disney Plus app, if you don't have the Disney Plus app, please go ahead and purchase that because it's great for all your classic needs for Disney. This isn't a plug for Disney Plus, by the way.
We are in no way affiliated.
We're not affiliated with Disney.
Not exactly.
We're very loosely based.
We're loosely based on Disney.
But because we have the Disney Plus app, we're going to find some time probably when we get home to watch Newsies.
Is it on there?
Oh,
okay.
So probably, probably soon enough then.
Right now. We're just going to pause and watch it and then come back. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Right now. Apocalypse Now.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was crazy.
Yeah. I'm not huge in war movies, but I know that one would be really fun.
Marlon Brando was... Oh, my God. What words do I choose to use for him? He was...
Pretty okay. No, I'm just kidding.
he was gone. He was crazy. And Martin Sheen, of course, I've never seen him... for Francis Ford Coppola, I haven't seen many of his films, sadly. I've seen the first Godfather, and, you guys can shoot me down on email or comments later about not seeing Godfather 2 yet. I have the box set. I'm going to watch it. It's in the works.
Note, he has the movies and hasn't watched it yet.
Because I have too many movies and too little time. My stepfather-in-law and I actually watched Apocalypse Now recently. And yes, it was my first time seeing it. Because, again, I'm trying to go through a list of movies I haven't seen to just, A, play catch-up, and B, I hear it's fantastic. I want to see it. And it blew me away. Yeah, Marlon Brando was such this powerful character that he just... You come into this island and they're trying to bring him back or destroy him, and he was God. Marlon Brando was God. You see it in his eyes. You see it in the way he holds himself. He was human, of course, but in his mind, in the mind of the followers on the island, he was God. I need to watch it again. I do. I'll watch it right now. And then Memento, of course, Christopher Nolan's film.
I don't really know too much about Memento. I know that he has some kind of memory loss deficiency.
So maybe you've seen it and you just played along and you don't remember watching it.
No, I used to work in a movie rental store, and that movie was rented out a lot, and I read the back bit. He has some kind of mental deficiency.
He does, yeah.
Like amnesia.
It's an amnesia
of
a sort.
And he has to take pictures to remind him of things that he has to do and everything like that. And it's a thriller, I guess. But
the fun part is, what pictures does he trust and what pictures can't he?
Oh, okay.
And that plays a part into the story. No, I love Memento, and I'm just a huge fan of Nolan's storytelling overall. So lastly, before we get out of here, and thank you again for everyone who's been listening to us just ramble about stupid things, and us sounding stupid probably part of the time, but whatever. We're here because we like talking movies, and we hope you're here because you like hearing movies or hearing about them, and you can again tell us to shut up or that we're wrong, or any feedback's great. You can always go to gmrshow@gmail.com or go on our website and post comments on the YouTube channel, whatever you feel necessary to criticize us in this day and age. But we're open to everything, man. We really are. And Joe, thanks for coming. And being a part of this. Your last discussion we'll have is your favorite century of film.
The 50s.
The 50s. Neither of us were around in the 50s.
Nope.
We might be around for the next set of 50s.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah.
There are 30 years from now.
I promised my wife 100 years.
So the 50s, what about the 50s just strikes you? And then, of course, I will ask, what is your favorite of the 50s?
It was a new age as far as bringing color and life into film. The technology that they had at the time obviously wasn't as good, but when the 50s blossomed forth, and I say blossomed forth because it actually brought some kind of sense and life to what was going on. Films like Rebel Without a Cause, Sunset Boulevard, it gave a new life that wasn't there before. It almost seemed like it was non-existent. A world that was colorless and full of no life was brought to new meaning.
It was a transitional period for
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
It was such a transitional period, especially with the musical game. The musical game in the 50s, even in the early 40s, was starting to taper out because there wasn't any color. But then you have classics like Singing in the Rain from 1952 that really brought forth a new era of ushering in entertainment. Because you'd have entertainment that you would see on the stage put into a film format that people can see in the comfort of their own homes, and they wouldn't have to drive so many hours to the city to see the stage performance. They could see it on their TV, or they could see it on the big screen.
So what happens to be your favorite of the 50s?
I mean, if I'm going to be not stereotypical about it, but if I'm going to pick one, I'm probably going to say Singing in the Rain. It's been a very long time since I've seen it. It's the music, the colors, the whimsy of it, and the choreography is phenomenal as well. I appreciate the fact that films of today have been trying to bring that back, like La La Land. I haven't seen it personally, but from what I've heard, it was supposed to usher in a new life to what the 50s style of movies really were.
No, yeah, La La Land was a fantastic film. I love the soundtrack they did too, Damien Chazelle.
Plus the fact that Cary Grant is an all-around awesome dude, and he was in a lot of the films in the 50s.
You mean Gene Kelly?
Well, Gene Kelly wasn't Singing in the Rain, but Cary Grant was also a very prominent 50s act.
Of course.
North by Northwest. Before that, I believe he was in Arsenic and Old Lace. He did a lot of great films, and he did a lot of service towards the 50s. And this was all during the communism scare as well.
Gotcha. No, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks again for being here. You had no choice. You were dragged down here by your wife to Florida. So,
which I'm not complaining about because I'm in Florida.
Okay. It's not as cold down here as it was in Illinois, I'm sure. I appreciate you talking to us about your favorites and things you grew up on, and I'm just glad we had a chance to chat because we've been talking about doing this for a while, and we were going to do it via Skype, and it just happened that you were here, so here we are, and we're talking. Before I go, I just wanted to say to our listeners, thanks for being along with us. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, GMR Show. You can find us on multiple podcast outlets around the internet. Till then, thanks for joining, and have a great day, everyone.
See ya. Happy New Year.
The Great Movie Radio Show is recorded in Orlando, Florida. You can visit our website at www.thegmrshow.com. Art direction and logo design provided by Mr. Bayless. Voiceover and intro work provided by Dave Fesky and Joe Erickson. You can find our podcast on multiple platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and many more. Music provided by the YouTube Audio Library. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search The Great Movie Radio Show or The GMR Show. This has been The Great Movie Radio Show. We hope you enjoy your day, and we'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of. Goodbye, everyone. We made a tiny boo-boo when recording this episode, so we're going to fix that real quick. While Hans Zimmer was involved with the scoring and composing of the original Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack, it was actually Klaus Baudet who was the credited composer for the film. Hans Zimmer did go on to compose the next 3 of the 5 Pirates of the Caribbean films, but again, we just wanted to make a correction out there because proper respect is given where it's due.
You have been listening to a WGMR radio production.